Hey, this is Sports Radio 910's Gary Hess and Gary Criswell, back from his one-week sabbatical. We are here at Varina High School, where tonight Hermitage got it done, beating the Blue Devils 22-15. This game was beautiful and ugly all at the same time. If football purists, there was a lot of things to like, but there was a lot of mistakes on both sides of the ball.
Oh yeah, if you could fast forward through the 37 to 45 penalties we had, a couple of unforced errors, there were a lot of good skill plays, a lot of determined efforts, a lot of good hitting. The game was played fairly clean despite the penalties, and we did have a major injury, but I think the potential of both teams stand out, and that's what I'm taking away from this game.
Hermitage quarterback Rashad Robinson was knocked from the game in the second quarter, but Odom, the backup, comes in and excelled.
And it took him very little time. They were sure that they let him get his feet wet, but fortunately he was big enough, powerful enough that the quarterback keeper was an option. That got him going good. Eventually, when Varina started shifting to try to defense the run, he did a good job of exploiting the secondary when slots were uncovered. He started throwing the ball around the yard a little bit. Once he got a grasp of the entire offense, they were a threat every time they got the ball. Varina's defense played a lot better, but I think the key to the game was Odom was able to make enough plays to get a 2-touchdown lead, and Varina was just short in their comeback.
Hermitage is now 3-0, has some challenges, has things to work on, but they're getting it done on the scoreboard.
They're getting it done. It's a different Hermitage. They're not as 1-2 punch as they've been in the past with the tailback and the quarterback. They have depth at receiver, they have depth at the running back, and now we found out they have depth at the quarterback. They have similar situations in the skill positions, in the perimeter positions of their defense. So that gives them a little bit of a insulation against those nagging injuries. They can rest the kid. They've got that schedule that they're going to do one more time, that familiar schedule where they play a lot of games where they're prohibitive favorites. They take on whoever challenges them in the Colonial District, and they go from there for the playoffs. This is a team that could go very, very deep in the playoffs under the right set of circumstances. You watch Coach Kane in his interview with us post-game, he only sees the mistakes. And granted, they had a chance tonight. If they played a perfect game, they had a chance to take Varina right out of the game in the second quarter, and they didn't do it. So that's the spot to work with. For Varina, it's a situation of eliminate penalties, eliminate mistakes. They probably want to tweak some of their execution on some of their plays. But again, they look very explosive. They have a great trigger man who's very, very courageous, a tough kid named Tim Miner, and he's got plenty of skilled people around him. You get those guys the ball in space, and they'll be dangerous and hard to defend over in the Capital District.
You just wind him up and you let him go. How about that? It's awesome.
Well, I've had 1 week of rest too. Yeah,
that's right. By the way, he mentioned the interview with Coach Kane. If you want to see the interview we did in our postgame with Coach Kane, you can catch the video. Just go to sportsradio910.com, go to the high school football page, and it'll be up there later tonight. So check that out. Patrick was actually very candid and very good in that interview tonight. Now, elsewhere, we had Manchester playing an undefeated game against Monacan and just absolutely blowing out the Chiefs. And we had Atlee making a statement against a very good Douglas Freeman team, 49-7. Talk about Manchester and Atlee.
And I think that's the spread of those games is the part that's going to get the headlines too. I mean, look, there are two teams that got great coaching staffs, a lot of stability in both programs. Atlee, after all these years, Tom Hall and the crew at Manchester does a great job. Sidney Chappell and those guys, and they seem to be, hitting on all cylinders. And those are teams that we're going to have to take a look at. We haven't gone to Manchester in a long time, and Atlee has some great matchups down the road. So certainly we will see them. I think we're still sorting out some of the pretenders and contenders, but tonight a couple of them I think possibly were eliminated. Douglas Freeman has a great chance to make the playoffs. Monacan will make the playoffs. They're not elimination games like they used to be.
Right.
But as far as championships and the guys that are going to get the high seeds, Manchester and Atlee took a big step.
I was just going to say, a couple of teams got eliminated. A couple of teams took a big step forward tonight as well. As for next week, We have debated it greatly, but I think we've reached a consensus.
Well, we've got 2 undefeated teams in the Capital District, and in our pursuit of contenders or pretenders, we decided to give Highland Springs another berth, and we're gonna take them as they entertain the undefeated 3-0 Hanover Hawks.
So Hanover and Highland Springs will be our game of the week next Friday night, and we will bring it to you as we always do on Sports Radio 910. He's Gary Criswell. I'm Gary Hess.